The Harsh Light of Day is a crossover with the Angel episode In the Dark. While a lot of it seems like an echo, it represents an interesting paradigm shift for the show in a number of ways, just as you might expect personally to experience during your own first year of college. If it weren't for my irrational protective feelings for Buffy, she is us, after all, I think The Harsh Light of Day might actually be one of my favorite episodes in Season 4. The Scoobies are hanging out at the Bronze, and Buffy is keeping a watchful eye on the status and location of Parker throughout the bar. Dingo's Ate My Baby are packing up in the parking lot when Willow runs into Harmony for the first time since graduation, which, if you remember... Harmony vamps and attacks, but Oz gets her away. On the walk home, Parker notices Buffy's neck.
Angry puppy.
He also opens up about his home life and asks Buffy to a party the next day. Xander and Giles, the displaced Scoobies, are spending an evening organizing Giles' home when Anya stops by.
Money.
So where's our relationship going?
Our what?
Meanwhile, back at the dorm, Parker and Buffy are about to kiss when Willow and Oz show up and let her know in Scooby code that Harmony is now a vampire. Spike and Harmony have a gloriously adversarial relationship.
You love that tunnel more than me.
I love syphilis more than you.
Spike is digging for something, but Harmony is too bored to sit around and begs to be taken to a party. At the party in question, Parker and Buffy run into Spike and Harmony carrying a snack between them. Buffy and Spike fight, and Harmony, new to being an immortal bad guy, tries her hand at taunting.
Yeah, but as soon as we have the gem of Amara, you're gonna be so...
Xander is sprucing up his mom's basement with a disco ball, and Anya shows up to try and continue having things develop. Back at the party, Parker lays a line on Buffy I want to circle back to, and Buffy kisses him. The next day, she wakes up in bed alone. I adore the echo here, waking up in bed with Parker gone, waking up with Angel gone, the visible psychological scar. I was amused by how much of a slob Parker appears to be, but regardless, he returns with coffee and has a new unfortunate line for Buffy.
Absolutely, I'll give you a call.
And after a night of carnal pleasures, every one of our couples awakens into the harsh light of day. Spike finally manages to hurt Harmony's feelings. Parker doesn't call, and Anya is upset that Xander is fine about her being over him. Spike finds the crypt containing the gem of Amara, a gem said to make vampires unkillable, but Harmony won't stop talking.
Take me shopping and I can't believe you just did that!
At Giles' house, the gang is still researching the location of the crypt.
Everybody, Giles has a TV. He's shallow like us.
Willow defending Giles here by saying maybe the TV doesn't work is an adorable reminder of her crush on him, which we covered a bit in Season 3. The whole anti-TV sentiment is a very meta writer's joke coming from a television show like Buffy. Buffy stumbles on Parker in the quad, laying the line about his dad on a new girl. Parker is standoffish and somehow manages to get Buffy to apologize to him.
I didn't mean to miss. I'm sorry.
We'll double back on this part in a moment, but this scene is crushing. Spike attacks when Buffy is most emotionally vulnerable, and during the fight, he picks at those wounds.
Could you play the sensitive lad and get you to seduce him? That's a good trick if the girl's thick enough to buy it.
We've had some great fights this season already, but this fight is not one of them. And it may actually be the harsh light of day that is the problem. James Marsters is incredibly lean and makes his stunt double look like a linebacker by comparison. And there are long, direct shots of his double's face. Buffy gets the ring off his finger, and Spike flees into the sewers. She decides the ring should go to Angel. Oz says he has a gig in LA and will take it to him. And the episode ends with Buffy and Willow trying to figure out what she did to make Parker not like her anymore. I really enjoy the structure of this one. You have three women on a parallel track exploring sexuality in their relationships with three very different but very complex men. Well, okay, two complex men and a Parker. Of course, I hate Parker, but I want to be very careful when I say to give Parker all the credit for the events of the episode, as in Buffy never would have if he wasn't a lying, manipulative poophead, is to sell the complexity of Buffy's character short. Parker's manipulation exposes in Buffy a vulnerability when it comes to matters of men and love, but I think it's less about being naive than meets the eye. There are obvious callbacks to what happened with Angel here.
Did I do something wrong? Was it me? Was I not good?
In Innocence, this story was subtext. In The Harsh Light of Day, the douchey boyfriend story is literal, and at the end of the episode, she asks Willow,
Am I repulsive?
The thing is, she and Parker spent about an estimated week's worth of time together. Angel and she spent a year and a half. Parker performed the ceremonial dance of intimacy, but the key is it was a one-sided performance. In all their scenes together, it was Parker talking about his life and his beliefs and his dreams. He rarely shows any curiosity towards Buffy and her passions. Real intimacy flows in both directions. This is Empathy Peacock's feathers. I've read that Sarah Michelle Gellar took issue with the idea of Buffy jumping into bed with someone so soon after Angel, but for a few reasons I found Buffy's actions totally believable. First of all, Angel is the one who broke up with Buffy. Whether it was for sensible reasons or not, it's still much harder to be the rejected than the rejecter.
Right now, I'm just trying to keep from dying.
Second, the persona that Parker was playing represented everything that Angel was not, and both Buffy and Willow go out of their ways to highlight that fact. Parker is sensitive.
Is this okay?
Thoughtful. He talks about his feelings, and most importantly, he has a reflection. Third, as Whedon said, college is a time where a lot of people experiment. I think Buffy ended up in bed with Parker because she wanted to believe him, not because she believed him. Don't forget the song she's been tortured by for the previous 2 episodes.
Do you believe in life after love?
Don't get me wrong, he's still a misrepresenting manipulative douchebag. Yes, I'm just suggesting the signs were there, and there were 2 people making decisions. Again, to give Parker all the blame is to sell Buffy's character short. This is something she's going to have to deal with for a few episodes. We see her struggling with it in the end. But her reaction in future episodes makes more sense to me if Parker is really the avatar for the insecurity she's developed about all her past relationships to this point. Anya and Xander's interaction set up an important detail about her character, and that is that she's been a single-minded vengeance demon for so long, she's forgotten how certain basic aspects of being human work and may need to relearn them. In this case, that banging the object of your affection isn't a suitable way of expunging them from your system. And at the far end in the other direction, we have Harmony, who when she can't get Spike to pay attention to her or treat her properly, engages Spike on a sexual level to keep his interest. One of my favorite aspects of this episode is the sexual experimentation, despite the fact that the experiments are kind of failures. I think we did better when we talked about season 2, but it would be tempting to look at that season as the show in some way demonizing sex. What with the numerous metaphorical portents leading up to the fateful moment and the sex seemingly causing the departure of Angel's soul. But we know that's not what that season is really about, and if you watch carefully, it isn't the sex that causes Angel's loss of soul. There's a cut after the scene of an unknown length of time, and we come to Angel laying in a bed with the woman he loves. No place to get to but this moment. No cares, no concerns, nothing but the fingertips of the storm outside on the window panes. This is true peace. This is home. This is perfect happiness. Still, it's refreshing to see the show take a more liberal attitude here towards sexuality as something to not be afraid of, rather something that needs to be handled with a little bit of care and honesty to be done well. It's easy to dismiss Parker's lines because, well, he sucks, but consider their content in the context of the show and all the philosophy we've talked about rather than as a tool to manipulate Buffy.
But there's something amazing about these huge events that when you dig down into them, they're all about people. Just regular people just trying to make choices. When you look back at it, it seems like people are swept up in events they couldn't control. But I don't believe that. You always have a choice with everything you do.
I love this. It's as if Whedon decided that if he had to bring Parker into Buffy's life, if he was going to go that route, he may as well give Parker dialogue that was going to speak to Buffy's heart. There are a ton of other fun details in this one. Parker noticing Buffy's scar from being bitten by both Angel and the Master.
Angry puppy.
This is not the first time Angel has been referred to like that. Still, this review has been kind of a difficult line to toe for me. I'll be honest, my first instinct when it comes to Buffy is a protective one. When I first watched this episode, I did, and I still do, want to throw Parker off a roof. But I think our interest in these discussions is in character. What do we do after we fall? We pick ourselves up and keep asking that important question. Where do we go from here?